Marcus? You're like all skinny now all of a sudden.
I'm a stick of butter in the sun, just slipping away.
How have you, because now it's been like 4 months post your surgery. How's your journey been?
Crappy. In the sense that it sucks.
Well, it's an adjustment.
It's a huge adjustment. So as I said a few months ago, this is a tool. This is not the end all. I have to do most of the work. It has not been easy.
First of all, I just want to say I'm actually saying this to the world. I applaud you.
Oh, thank you.
For making this public. Because some people kind of feel like, I know you're not like an embarrassed guy where you, but even to talk about personal things. So that's actually great that you're sharing this with everybody.
I look at it like this. I'm not the only one who got this done. And I'm probably not the only one who thought about getting it done. I'd rather share and maybe give somebody an informed decision and something that they want to do. If this is something that they've been thinking about, do it.
Or even inspiration.
Sure. I mean,
right?
And it's true. I'm not an embarrassed person. As you can tell, we're on here talking a whole lot of garbage all the time, but that's what we do, and I'm okay with that. Like, I've always been an open person, as you know.
That's not me.
And that's okay. Everybody's different, but you know what?
Like, it's my business. I'll deal with my own crap.
I understand that. For me, it's just like, it's a whatever thing, And I
think that's a great quality to have, that you're very open like that with the world.
No, I got nothing to hide.
Because it is true, because other people are going through the same issues as you were.
Yeah.
And we all love to eat. We all love food. So it's a new journey that you're on.
The thing that was always said is that food is harder to quit than drugs, because you don't need drugs, but you need food. So trying to wean off of something that you essentially need to live off of is hard. It's hard. And, there have been times where it's like, I cook as if I didn't get the surgery done, and I throw things away.
And you're like, what am I going to do with all of this?
Exactly. And then a lot of people say, well, why don't you reheat it? And it's like, hey, have you had this shit reheated? It's not that great. It really isn't. I'm not a big reheater. That's where one of my issues is.
Certain dishes taste different. The flavors change. Some are great.
Yeah.
And some are not.
Right. The only thing I'm going to say about the surgery is this, because I don't want to stay on it, but I'll say this. 4 months in, I'm still getting heartburn at night. My esophagus has been tightened down towards the stomach, so it forces you to eat a little slower. You really shouldn't eat and drink at the same time. I do, because I'm a moron, and I make sure that I drink enough during the day that I'm not worried about sipping anymore. That's not something I worry about. There's a big factor of throwing up that some people have. I haven't. I had a really good recovery. I had a really good surgeon. So everything with that went well. So the only thing to say is I went from 293. I'm going to officially say the weight numbers here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mr. McFatty, McFat. I was 293 when I started. 4 months into the day, I am now 237.
That is awesome.
That's after 4 months, and I'm still going down. But it's, again, whole adjustment. Let's leave that alone.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
But, and it's also a learning curve.
Absolutely.
Right? Because now you have to adjust the way you cook, the way you eat. So, the only suggestion I could kind of give you is, still make the foods that you love eating and the cooking that we love, but just make smaller portions of it. Or separate your, all in portion control.
The issue I have with that, and this is a me problem. It's like, I like me a New York strip. Have you ever bought a New York strip and cut it in half and saved the? It's like it's. I can't do it. It's like I'll make the whole thing, right? I'll eat what I can, and then I'm sorry about the rest of it.
Again, I think with the cooking, you have to use some good tools in the kitchen to help. Like, for example, when you said the steak, the New York strip, I would suggest cutting it in half or in threes, depending on the size. And you know what would be good? You know that vacuum seal?
Those would be nice. Those would be nice.
Vacuum seal whatever you're not going to be using, and then freeze it. And then, let's say when you come home from work, just take it out, and then you grill it very quickly in the pan.
Yeah.
And
because I like it bloody.
I know, you'll be done in 2 seconds. You don't even need to dirty the pan.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like I don't. But that's another thing that I got to work on and get over. It's the fact that I take something out and it's like I should have cut this prior, or like I cut my own cutlets, right? I used to put 5 cutlets into a bag because I could fry up or bake or grill 5 cutlets, eat 2 or 3 of them, and I'll be fine, right? Now it's like I could have like 1, maybe 2, and it's like the rest.
So for with 1 chicken breast, you could eat like a week.
That is the essential idea here. And it stinks because it's like I miss sitting down and having my cutlets. Because I wasn't a big, I would have a little bit of mashed potatoes on the side or whatever, but I put down the cutlets. Now they want to come back up. Yeah. But I think that we hit a good rhythm here. Portion control.
I think portion control is key, and you have to use like tools in your kitchen.
Yes.
To help you stay successful and not be wasteful of foods. Correct. Like you said. Right. So like another great tool that a lot of people have is cupcake pans.
Absolutely.
It's perfectly portion control for 1 piece, if you fill up to 2, depending on...
Well, this is what we used to do. We used to do those egg bites. Like Starbucks makes egg bites.
I make those a lot. I make them all the time. It's great for any diet also because you could kind of like cater it to whatever your specialty diet is.
Correct.
So if you're staying away from carbs, don't put nothing, heavy of like carb-wise. If it's sugars, whatever. You want more veggie. Right. If you want to do a little meat, you can.
So this is what I do for mine. I get, because in a tin of 12, I think I did like 7 eggs. I like to put milk into my eggs, makes it a little softer to eat. And you could either hand beat them. You gave me that emulsifier, which I've used a bunch. So I'm glad. No, honestly, that thing's been a saver. So I emulsify it, right? A couple minutes just to make sure it got what it's got going on. A little garlic powder. I try not to put salt in it because then the salt will actually take out the water content, and then you'll get this like water base on the outside. They always say if you're going to do eggs, put salt on when it's almost done, not in the beginning. And I've realized that because there's like a separation. So I would do black pepper, little bit of garlic powder. Now garlic starts up the process of the heartburn, so I have to stay away
from the garlic then.
But then I would have shredded cheddar cheese. I put that at the base because even if it crisps over, it gives you this hard shell kind of like at the bottom. I'll have pre-cooked, like I would already have bacon on the side. I would have it cooked in the oven because I do the oven baking of the bacon. I don't put it on the frying pan. I'm a better fan of...
I like baking bacon better, and it's less of a mess.
It's 400 degrees, 7 minutes on one side, 7 minutes on the other. Yeah. They come out perfect, and I like thick-cut bacon. So I chop it up, put I put the cheese, the egg, put the bacon in, top it with a little bit more cheese, kind of like sealing it in, put it in the oven. I do about 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. It really depends.
Okay.
It really depends because 1 minute...
Well, you're going to watch it how it's set.
Correct.
That's what you're looking for.
The minute it puffs up and it's like towards the... And you want to fill it 3/4... I fill it 3/4. I made a mistake where I filled it up to the tippy top. And I had egg muffins. Yes. So just as a breakfast, there you have it. And
so would you have 1 egg muffin or would you have 2?
Now, if I filled it up that 3/4 way, I could probably have like 1.5. If I filled it up to the tippy top, which you're not supposed to, 1. Because that would conceal the whole thing. Yeah. Correct. So that's what I would do. But that's just to cover breakfast. I know that you have some good ideas for like lunches and dinners.
Oh, yeah. I mean, also going along with the portion control, like I suggest like making like a meatloaf. Because you could get a pound of chopped meat, right? A pound of meat. And then you could kind of like separate it into like 4. So each bunch is... Each bunch is like a quarter or in 3 and do thirds. And you could even freeze it, or make your meatloaf. Right. Season it all up together and then roll it up. Fill it with whatever you like inside. Because I know yours is a little different than mine. But I would season my meatloaf the Italian way, more like a meatball. And then I would fill it with like ham or provolone and then roll it up. And then you could even like prep them. And then wrap them very well. I'm really big on wrapping your food well before you freeze it. So like, but I do do plastic wrap. I know you're not supposed to do foil. People don't like those things.
Yeah.
But wrap them very well, or even in that vacuum seal. That helps things stay fresh.
If I had a bigger place, I would definitely use the vacuum
Well, you're
seal.
gonna pop it in the freezer.
Right.
Right, and then you could have maybe 3 of them. So for the whole month, you have like 3 meatloaf dinners.
I would love to do that. Go food shopping for one day, right? And just that'll be prep day.
Like a meal prep day.
Right, like, and I'm talking about raw foods because I don't do the reheat thing. Call it a sin, and it is.
Yeah.
I don't do the reheat thing, so I would rather have 2 slices of cutlets, sealed, frozen. So all I have to do is take that out and not worry about taking out 5 in a bunch.
I think that's the rhythm you got to get into.
That's
like even chicken breast that we both buy and we cut ourselves and make cutlets. Just take that breast and cut it already in the pieces that's good for you.
Right.
And then freeze them, even though it's the littlest thing. Freeze it, those small little pieces, and you just take out the one in the morning before you go to work and throw it in the refrigerator so it defrosts slowly. Or if you're home, let it sit out in like cold water. And then when it defrosts, you just cook it and no waste and it's easy prep.
Aside from meatloaf, what else could be a good idea for prepping?
Meatballs is really good too. And it's funny because a lot of people make their meatballs the day they're eating them.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I make my meatballs on the day when I'm home and this is a good time to make my meatballs when I don't have nothing going on. And I'll make like a large quantity. I'll do like 2-3 pounds of the meat mixture.
So
I do use all 3 meats. And then I season it like all Italians do, right? With grated cheese, fresh parsley. I do onion. I do garlic. A lot of like...
You do onion?
I do. I like the onion.
Okay, I've never seen the onion.
You can hand chop and mince everything or get your food chopper because you've seen me do that. And you're like, oh, I've never done that. Throw everything in your food chopper, depending how big it is. I'll throw in an onion. I'll throw in my garlic. I'll throw in my parsley. Everything's getting chopped small...
Anyway.
Right?
Yeah.
And then let it go to town, chop everything up for you, and then you throw it in. And then you add your eggs, you add your grated cheese. I soak bread in milk. So I kind of drain most of that out, and then I...
You drain it?
I don't drain the whole thing dry.
No,
like
I'm asking
as a towel, like when you
leave.
do frozen spinach, you have to drain it well. I don't do that.
Okay.
But I have it soaking in the milk. I don't pour the whole thing because I don't want soup. But like I kind of like... And then I kind of with my hands gently where it's a little moist.
Yeah.
And then throw it in. And then if you need a little bit more liquid, I was like, oh wait, it's a little dry. You could just throw a few splashes in.
Sure.
Yeah. So I prep my meat. I roll them all out. And then you could either bake them or you could fry them. But I partially cook them. I don't cook them all the way. If I know I'm home and the kids are home or Frank's home and people are going to be snacking, I cook them all the way because, you're going
to be popping them out. Yeah.
But if it's just like I'm by myself, I'll kind of part cook them.
Okay.
And then when they're done, take them out, let them fully cool, throw them in a Ziploc bag.
Right.
And then I freeze them. So on a Sunday... when you want to get sauce going and whatever, you just take it out and, okay, whatever. We're how many people for dinner? Let me throw in 6 meatballs. And you're taking out whatever you want. You don't have to cook the whole bag because they kind of break off of each other when they're frozen.
Gotcha.
Throw them in the pot. And same thing, low and slow. And then the longer they stay in the sauce, they get very soft and tender and they stay nice. And you use... what you need for that day.
Awesome. Okay,
so
that's definitely something. I'm one of those who do them during as I buy, I make. That's what it is. That's so.
Yeah, I never did that. I always do that on the prep day when I have the time, and I'll do like 3 pounds at a time.
Okay. And you know what's funny? When you mentioned the onion, because I was like, wow, really? Like you put onion in, and I don't hear that a lot. What I could see is, and I think I'd done it for my meatloaf once, which was I actually grated my onion. So the juice from the onion kind of like went with the pieces, like, because chopping is very direct. It's cut. You know what I'm saying? Grating, it's like, in a way, you're juicing while it's getting shaved.
And it'll melt. You really won't even see it.
So that's actually, maybe I'll add the grated onion.
And honestly, if you're someone that doesn't like onion, leave it out. You don't have to put it.
Absolutely not.
But I like onion, the flavor it gives, so why not?
And listen, I actually picked up a French grater recently.
Okay.
So now I get my garlic, I go fina, fina, fina. It goes really thin. And it's, like, I did it before, obviously, the surgery. I wanted like some foods before it was too late.
Of course, like
I had pasta
last
with garlic.
hurrah.
Oh yeah, pasta with garlic and
Mm.
oil, and I had the garlic came out so thin. It just needed to be like sautéed for
So
literally.
like paper thin,
Oh
like
my
in
God.
prison with the
I had to make
razor?
sure I didn't cut off my fingers because I had to go to the point where it was
Wow.
so thin. Came out excellent. I love that thing.
Let me tell you, I love pasta gulaglia.
Oh yeah.
I think that's one of the best dishes that it's so inexpensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so delicious.
Yes.
And you could feed so many people
Yeah.
with just that pound of pasta.
Absolutely.
And it takes nothing. But then if you order it at a restaurant, you're at like $25 a dish.
And then I think you're an idiot for ordering it because altogether the ingredients will cost you like $4.
See, this is why I will never order pasta at a restaurant.
No, you can't.
Because I'm like, it takes nothing to make this. Why am I giving you $30 a dish?
But just like people who listen to this, maybe they just don't know how, which I can understand. And you know, if you just think about the ingredients, and I'm a big context.
You're making me so hungry. I really want pasta gulaglia.
You're hungry? I'm starving.
Oh my God. I'm visualizing
You know.
the garlic sauteing.
Oh my God.
Then you do fresh parsley at the end. It's delicious with cherry tomatoes.
Oh,
like
stop
sauteed.
It. Stop it, Ens.
You need a little pasta water.
Stop
I'm
it.
talking dirty to him right now. And then the little pasta water with the cheese, the creaminess.
Do you understand? The last time, I want to cry. The last time I had like pasta. I'm talking about like spaghetti. Say it's been like 5 months.
Okay, so when you're ready, I never do this. I never go out to eat at a restaurant for pasta. I think we should go for good, delicious pasta dish.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
you could enjoy. I'm sure they're everywhere. All Italian restaurants.
I have a bone to pick with them. A lot of them I know, like, because you can't go to a restaurant and expect to cook 15 minutes worth of pasta. You know, they have to have stuff already kind of like parboiled.
Parboiled.
But you know, when you think about it, it's not something I'm down for. I don't like pre-cooked food.
I don't order pasta when I go
Neither
out.
do I.
I really don't. One dish, I'm always a seafood gal. When they go
I'm
out
with
to
you.
eat, and I think the last time we went out to eat before your surgery, and we went with friends too, we shared pasta with clams or the shrimp. I know we shared like everything that night. I think
That's the same night you had sushi for the first time.
it was that weekend.
Yes, it was that weekend. Yes.
But going on the seafood part, you know what I made? That's so delicious. And I gotta come at you with this one because you made it.
Yes.
I think for Christmas or it had to be Christmas Eve.
It was Christmas time, yeah.
Stuffed calamari tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Out of this world. And I've had them growing up. I've had them before. Deliciousness.
Of
like
course.
I can't even tell you.
I can imagine. No, I need to know what your stuffing was.
It's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And in like explaining it, I think it's the same thing. Like I said before, my meatloaf. I make it like my meatballs, the Italian way. My stuffed calamari tubes. The filling, it's a bread filling. So you're making it like you make your baked clams. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like not the same thing and you're putting it on the foods, but sometimes that basic deliciousness, like you could kind of do it in different ways.
Absolutely.
And make a whole nother dish.
Okay.
So for the calamari tubes, it's really easy. So you take your tubes and you got to clean it first. You got to clean it well. Sometimes if you have like a really good fishmonger, I'm going to use this word to like the day I die. They'll clean it for you. Mm-hmm. But if not, you're going to clean the skin off yourself, like under cold running water. And then on the inside, it's there like bone, but it feels like plastic. You're going to clean everything out. Take the tentacles out. You're going to clean it all out. So once your tubes are cleaned, what I did was sometimes they have like a little fin on the side. I cut that off. So you get a little bowl of like the fins, right? And you just boil it like very quickly. Like for like not even 5 minutes because fish cooks fast, like when you boil it.
Especially like octopus and squid.
Shrimp, they all cook so quick. So a quick little boil, so it's kind of cooked through, put it aside. And now you're going to get your breading going. Again, it's very similar to baked clams. Plain breadcrumbs, fresh parsley, fresh garlic, salt and pepper, and I do grated cheese. I know you're not supposed to do grated cheese with
I don't listen to that.
seafood,
Don't worry
but
about it.
I love it. I think it gives another flavor to it. I love
Absolutely.
cheese like almost everywhere.
Who doesn't?
And now you need to moisten it. What do you need? Good olive oil. Now, you could do like a fish stock, right? But if not, I keep like the clam juice on hand. So I would do that in there. And then again, look at it. Use your senses. Like when you cook, you have to use your senses. How does it look? How does it smell? How does it feel? Smell it. Do I smell the garlic? Do I smell the cheese, the parsley? Okay, it smells good. Now let me stir it up. It feels a little dry. It looks dry. Okay, let me add a little more oil. Let me add a little more clam juice. A splash here, a splash there. And then feel it. Does it feel moist? You don't want, if it's really dry, you're not going to like it. But if you, and it feels nice and moist, you know it's going to be good inside the tubes. So then you're just going to fill it up with a spoon. Or your hands.
That's
whatever.
where I had a problem, by the way. Filling them was a pain in the ass.
I think I started with the spoon to be clean.
We all started it.
And then I just went to my hands.
Right.
And then I stuffed them. I filled them. And then you seal it with toothpicks. Okay. So then you fill all your tubes and then you seal it with toothpicks. And then what I do is I take a toothpick and I prick them. Because I brown it in olive oil. Now, you're not browning it like a chicken cutlet. But you want like a slight little goldenness
Like
around the
like
side.
like a quick sear.
Very slightly, very little bit of quick. You're going to see it get a little golden as you're browning it. And then you do all the sides. And in pricking it, it's important because it'll prevent it from exploding or ripping or tearing or popping.
It gives it that air pocket
It's
that you
cooking,
to get out.
It's tightening up. So when you prick it, it lets it escape.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're all nicely seared around the sides, you take it out. Now you have this pan of all goodness, all that crispy bits on the bottom. It's not burnt, it's good stuff. And now you just build your sauce. What are you going to do? Get your olive oil if you need a little bit more. Add garlic to it. All right? Cook that a little bit. Get your cherry tomatoes, throw it in, let it cook down a little bit. Like any good seafood dish, you're going to add a little white wine to it. Right? If you want to lighten up the flavor, you could throw a little more clam juice in there to build that broth. Mm-hmm. Taste it. If you need salt and pepper, you do that. That's all to taste. Put your tubes back. Let it cook through. Maybe 25, 30 minutes. You're going to see when it's all cooked through. And then that's it. Top it off with a little fresh parsley. Another thing I did actually, because I recorded this and I posted it. Mm-hmm. So if you want to check it out, you can see me make it. I had a little breading left. Mm-hmm. So when they were like kind of done, I didn't do it from the beginning because I didn't want to make a mess in the pot. In the pan, you take a little of that breading and you sprinkle it on top. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's not fully submerged. It's kind of like midway.
Okay.
Top it off with that extra breading. Because you don't want to waste all that goodness.
Of course not.
So good. Then when it's all done, top it off with fresh parsley. Enjoy.
So that sounds awesome.
I want it now.
Getting that, I want to know your take on this. What if in your breading mixture, just to add one thing and one thing only, crab meat.
Okay.
Like a stuffed crab meat.
Including
squid.
a crab meat.
That's it. Like, we're not taking away any other element. But because it's already a seafood dish, but you're really getting the fin and the squid itself, maybe adding that texture of crab meat to it. Because I would say shrimp, but it's too
thick.
Solid.
Thick.
Right.
Chunky.
You're looking for breakable,
thin.
Which I would say crab meat would mix well with the breading.
So we've never talked about crab meat before.
Because I don't typically
we really
use
don't
it.
talk about it.
Right.
I really like crab meat.
Yes.
I grew up having the imitation crab meat. Have you had that one?
Like the one that they do like the California rolls with? Or are you talking about something different?
Yes.
Okay.
That is actually it.
Okay.
It's orange on the outside and white in the center.
Yes.
That's imitation.
Yes.
That's sweet.
Right.
It tastes good.
Yeah.
But it's imitation.
Correct. It's not the
So recently I did a video of stuffed, I believe it was stuffed flounder. I did a crab meat filling.
Nice.
And so I didn't use the imitation. I used real lump crab meat. So now I bought a canned one.
From the fishmonger?
Actually, I bought it at the supermarket.
Stop shop.
But this one was canned.
Okay.
Lump crab meat. It was very delicious. But I noticed with it, and I feel like because it was canned, it was a little saltier tasting.
And that's the thing, we got to be careful.
Fishier tasting, which was delicious.
Right.
It wasn't bad. It was very good, but it had a stronger seafood flavor.
That's fine.
Okay?
Right. The problem that I came across that I want to just mention to people if they're trying to do things, because as you mentioned, when I did when we do stuffed clams and stuff like that, I used basically the same way you did, right? I oversaw something. Remember this: clam juice and cheese and salt. These are all salty products. You don't want to overwhelm it, because if you bite into it and you go, did I just eat a salt mine? That's what happened to me once. So we also have to make sure that it's enough moisture, right? Clam juice, you put enough, but not too much. If you're putting cheese, how salty is the cheese? Let me keep this in mind.
Cheese is salty.
So these are the things that you can't just throw together like that. You kind of have to be mindful of salt content. If you're using your stock, right? Stock is less salty than broth, which is great. That's the only good drawback. But if you're going to use it, use the less sodium one. Think about it. The thing you can't take the salt out of is your cheese and your clam juice. But you can definitely control added salt, and you can control if you're using a stock.
But you always have to be mindful of all your ingredients and what contains salt. Because if let's say 5 of the things contain saltiness,
enjoy your blood pressure.
But you don't need to add salt.
No.
Because you know it's already enough.
But keep going.
What I was going to say is that was the canned one.
Yes.
I think the other lump crab meat that's more like in a container, that's less of a saltier, fishier flavor.
You got to be careful with that. I actually went to a different fishmonger, and the way that they preserve some of the crab meat is not that great.
But that's like caught.
It smells like formaldehyde.
Oh.
You got to be careful. I know crab is good, but sometimes when they sell them, open them up. If it smells too much like a chemical, because I know some people that they'll do like I swear to God, you would think there's bleach in it. Stay away from those.
I think you gotta go with good brands, brands, no off brands.
You kind of want to stay with if the fish people that are there have their own that they prep, go for that, because a lot of the times you'll open up the stuff that's pre-made, and you'll get that smell where it's it smells like there's chemicals in there.
Stuff. I can't do pre-made stuff.
So, all I'm saying is be careful.
No, you're 100% right. Sometimes I see at the supermarket, even in the fish department, they have clams as big as my face.
Yes.
Okay, these clams are huge, and they're pre-made stuffed clams. Could you imagine how salty these? First of all, sometimes the breading looks dark.
I've had them.
Number one.
Yeah.
They're seasoned a totally different way, where the filling should be light and fluffy. Not this heavy, dense filling where you're
right. So I'm a little thing that I do. I know, for me, when it comes to just clams, I don't mind the dense ones. Because I take the clam out of the shell. I know a lot of people, I'm pretty sure you might do that.
Had this conversation
where
before.
you just
you
breadcrumb the top, right?
I take out the clam.
Oh, you do?
Actually, wait. Let's back this up. When I get it from the fishmonger, I have her clean them for me, because I can't be that.
No, they're hard. Yeah, you're gonna cut off a finger.
I'm gonna lose my hands.
Yeah.
But she cleans everything for me.
Sure.
So when we prep them, typically we do it for holidays. We usually do this on an every Sunday thing or whatever.
Sure.
But I will put the clams back in so they are disattached.
Okay.
And then I will lightly put in the filling. I will slightly pack it down so it kind of stays the form, the shape, and won't fall out.
Right.
But I do like it light and fluffy.
So for me, I do kind of like, I know it sounds kind of bad, but I do like the doughy. Not doughy, but I like that. You're taking a bite out of it and you could scoop it and eat it, because I dice the clams. I put it with the breadcrumb.
That's right. You diced them.
I was
thinking I disattach it and you don't, but you freaking
No, I mince them. So I minced all the I minced all the
but
clam
doesn't
meat.
it get lost?
No, absolutely not.
Then in some you could not have much, and some you have a lot.
So the clam has 2 shells, right? Because it's clam. So I save only half of the shells. So when I take out all the clam meat, dice it up, put it whatever, I only need half the shells. because you don't need both shells. You only get clam on one side of the shell.
Agreed.
So I stay with that. And then I put enough breading, right? The breadcrumbs, because I use the same way. I use breadcrumbs.
When you want 8 clams, I think what everybody looks for, and please tell me if I'm wrong, you want a fluffy breading of a topping, and you want a clam.
You get clam.
Okay, but yours get lost. They disappear.
No, they
these
don't.
Little pieces.
I'm not doing.
I want a whole clam. I want a bite.
Hold on. I'm not doing 3 pounds of breadcrumb. I look at the clam, the amount of that's left over. I put in enough to where they're covered, and I could maybe a little bit more. Like if we were to do, okay, how's this one? I'll give you a measurement. If I were to have 3/4 cup of minced clams, I will probably do about 1.5 cups of breadcrumb. I will mix in my clam juice, garlic, parsley, cheese, right? I'm on you. I'm with you the whole way. The texture is supposed to be like, do you know what the texture for me is?
Wet sand.
No, where it's no. I can grab it and it stays whole. You know how
Bastuza.
You know, hold on. You know how we like to.
Wait, when you eat it, does it stand like
No, it doesn't stay
That's
there.
what's gonna happen.
No, it's not. Do you know the breadcrumb, the breadcrumb balls that you fry after making the cutlets?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a little lighter than that, where it's not to the point of density of that, but where it's like still you can break it apart easy. You put that on. I put that on.
You know, it's so funny how we're so different.
But it's not that different, though. Listen, I know you like the whole clam, which is fine. You want that whole piece of clam. I'm getting a mixture of clam and breading into each bite.
Baked clams, they're given at 99% of all parties that we go to.
Sure.
Right? What does everybody say when they're eating them? Oh, nigiedo no, oh, manguchinero no.
Right.
Everybody freaking wants a damn clam.
Right. And I make a good size one. When I make it in my home, right? First of all, I don't do those because they do
the baby
clams.
Little necks or something.
I don't do little necks. I get those big sons of guns. I get those. Those are the ones. I don't get the small ones. I looked for the small ones. They're either never in the store.
8 of them.
If I get the big ones, and I'm talking about I get like 10, 15 of them. Oh, believe me, you're getting a mouthful of clam. Trust me, mouthful of clam. But it's enough to where I can bring it together. Like I would call it like a bread meatball. Call it whatever you want. But I would end up restuffing the clam itself. Not overly, top it with the paprika. But again, like I said, I'm putting the garlic, the parsley, the chop. I put it on top just as a garnish as it bakes. Little olive oil on top to make sure that, you get some color. When I tell you, there was one year I did it so good, I wanted to cry. Because it's like, I wanted to go in it with a fork, because you could just eat it like that. But I went in it with a fork. Let me tell you, every bite I took, there was clam. I had it was the right saltiness level. It wasn't too garlicky.
Good.
And I was like, this is how I want them. Unfortunately, they look like the ones that you buy at the supermarket, but the supermarket, they screw you over. They definitely give you less clam.
I don't like pre-made stuff like that.
I make sure every bite, you're getting some good stuff.
Yeah.
That's my take on that.
A light, fluffy filling like that is my stuffed mushrooms. So it's very similar.
That I do for the mushrooms.
Very similar, just substitute from the clam juice to chicken broth. And I keep it light and fluffy like that too.
But with my mushrooms, right, I do what you do with the clams, right? You just do the breadcrumb topping. Like I mix olive oil with the breadcrumb, garlic and parsley.
I kind of do everything.
Like a dry breadcrumb stuffing.
You have plain breadcrumbs, parsley, garlic.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of
then,
right?
Well, I put cheese on freaking everything.
And then you just feel it.
Right, and it's hands. And it's grainy.
Oil, a chicken broth.
I don't put broth in it though.
I do. I do that to moisten it.
Oh, you do.
And then I fill my mushrooms, and then I put it on my pan, right? And then I try to put a little liquid, so I do a little more chicken broth.
Okay.
On around the mushrooms.
Yeah, so make that steam effect.
And because they have to cook, so they need to steam. And then I drizzle olive oil a little bit over each one. So
the thing I realized about mushrooms is that they do retain a lot of water.
They throw out a lot of water.
That's why I kind of like do that. But when I lay them out, again, the stuffing, that I call it stuffing, but it's not really a stuffing.
Filling is the same thing.
Because I just do it with breadcrumbs, olive oil, making sure that it's like yes, I hate to say it, like a sand texture, like a wet sand.
Moistness.
Moist.
You
Because
want a
that's what it
moist
is.
filling.
And then I just put that on top, the olive oil, like you said, and then I just leave them in the oven.
So wait, you don't put no liquid on the bottom?
No. I let the bottom, because the bottom will end up crisping up from the moisture of the mushroom itself, excreting it out. It doesn't need assistance with that. So
Yeah, that I always do.
it'll brown, shrink up. The breadcrumbs on top will have this salty crisp to it.
Crispiness.
And it's like the perfect soft bottom, crispy top. That's the only time I do it like that.
Mushrooms. Do you make mushrooms often, or
as much as I can? Like I know even health benefit
that's
wise.
like a fancier side that we make every holiday.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a necessity.
Yeah.
And we like really make it often. Even like on the Sunday, like, oh, what are we gonna make? Oh, let's make some stuffed mushrooms.
No, I think that the mushrooms are great as a side. Even and listen, my father, he used to get those. You ever used the big portobellos?
Portobello mushrooms.
Holy crap! Put that on the grill.
Grill it
with olive oil, drizzle it with olive oil, salt, black pepper. That itself,
that's all you need.
You can have that as a steak.
Well, it has a beefiness flavor to it, so people eat it like the meat, like a portobello burger.
Yes.
Right? Or you make a stuffed portobello mushroom, and then you do the sauce and the cheese, and it's like parmigiano.
I'm freaking dying over here.
That I actually haven't made in a long time. Portobello mushrooms.
Let's do it.
I like them. Those are really good.